Hi, my name is Zayd, and this is my CO2 car presentation. About my car. When I started my CO2 car project, I couldn't just make one up. There were so many possibilities. Decided to hop on Google and search up CO2 car sketches. Why did I choose my decide and how? So after a span of an hour of me scrolling through Google Images and sketching CO2 thumbnails, I finally found it, the chosen one. It looked so simple yet so slick. It looked like a car that wouldn't take a long time to make, and it would still look like a Porsche F1. So it was a quick right click, save image as, and rename. Now it was time to start building a blueprint. But before I started building, I had to make some accurate sketches of my car, with measurements and dimensions of the car, like the width and the length. So after a few frustrating attempts of creating some good sketches, I finally made a good rough copy, and a good-looking good copy. I immediately went to photocopy my sketches since I knew that because of my clumsy orangutan nature, I would spill juice or some liquid on my paper. After photocopying and having more than enough sketches, I was ready to take the next step, building. Also, you might have noticed that my rough copy has bigger dimensions than my good copy, and that's because when I was building, I wanted my car to be like very big, but also I realized that it would have gone over the rules because 29.9 centimeters was basically the length of the block of wood that all of us got. 6.2 centimeters was just too much of a width, so I cut down the dimensions for my good copy. The length it was 22.1 centimeters and the width is 4.8 centimeters. Getting that huge block of wood, I felt like I was responsible of taking care of a baby. I would sculpt it into something beautiful. I would help it grow into a big boy. So I was dedicated to this piece of wood. Okay, I first sketched my car on the wood and I started drilling the holes for the axles. Next, it was time to shape this beautiful baby boy or girl. After potentially almost breaking the bandsaw, and a little help from Mr. Rogers, it was finally done. He was a big boy now. In the few days that I spent with this inanimate piece of wood, I feel like a strong connection has been made. But he was still looking very blocky, so it was time to visit the sander belt. After a few professional taps and chiseling, along with some manual sanding, with little help from the Dremels, it was done. He was my big baby boy, but this time he was smooth. He was also looking a bit naked. It's painting time, the field of work that I'm probably the worst at. I was going to turn this boy into a man. These were hard times. There was so much anxiety and OCD involved with painting this little son of a block that I felt, past tense, that I felt like if I messed up once, I would have had to start over. I wanted my design to not look empty, so I gave my car this purplish black color with a hue of red. I wanted this as a background because then I would paint the decals on top, and also because I thought it would just look cool in general. After painting the backdrop, I wanted it to have this purple-red aesthetic. I was going to do a gradient with red and black, but then I was like, nah, it'll just look plain. So I drew some wavy lines that have a gradient of red and purple using a tiny paintbrush. I also painted my name on the left side of my car because, I don't know, I thought it would just look nice, and also people would know whose car it was. Last but not least, I have no idea what the inspiration was for the bottom of my car. Like, it just happened and didn't have any wave of creativity behind it. Who's looking at the underside of my car anyway? Oh, and I also added some glitter to the top of my car because, I don't know, why not? The race. My car has a speed of 1.5. It versed a Mars car, and my car didn't win. I was so sure my car was going to win. It didn't even make it past the first round. So I was sitting there pondering how my car was just too slow. It begs the question, how could I have done better? I didn't understand how my car didn't win. But the more I looked at my car, I noticed that my car had gained some weight. He/she was fat, Actually, fat is a strong word. Mr./Mrs. Undefined over here was just horizontally challenged. I guess what I could have done better is that I could have made him lose some ounces. If I had sawed a rectangular piece out of the middle of my car, it would have been lighter, therefore giving me a better aerodynamic. Aerodynamic, I cannot speak today. Aerodynamic stats and less drag. I would make the front of my car a little thinner and pointier too, so it could cut through the air like a knife through butter. I'm not saying I'm disappointed in my boy or anything. If anything, it's my fault I didn't stop him from chomping on all that sawdust. Anyway, I will cherish these memories. I feel like I've learned a lot of things, and I would like to talk about what I've learned on this journey. I feel like I've gained a lot of knowledge and skills. If I could go back in time and somehow got myself to do this again, I could have done this with ease and confidence. I say this because I know how to properly use the machines. I know how I'm going to use these skills to make my car even better. I will have all the safety knowledge at my disposal, and I will never end up breaking the bandsaw. Okay, real talk, I really loved building this car. I've never done anything like this, especially hands-on or anything, and I have to admit this might be one of the best classes/courses I've ever taken, and Mr. Rogers is the best teacher I could have asked for. Speaking of the best, my car was definitely not the best. If I had to describe how I painted and designed my car, I would say that I just not painted. I would just say that I opened my cranium and spilled all my ideas onto a block of wood. There were also some design flaws. All of this I'm going to talk about in the next slide. My car had some flaws that I think I should have paid more attention to. For example, when I sprinkled the glitter on my car, I made a mess of using the glue to make sure it was stuck on, and then it turned into, what's glitter and glue mixed together? Glutter? There were a lot of glitter smudges on my car. There were probably better ways to apply the glue to the glitter, but unfortunately at the time I was rushing the whole design process, and I just wanted it to be good to go for race day. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I could have done a cutout in the middle of my car because of the fact that it weighed too much. I actually did have the idea to do it before while making my sketches. As you can see, I sketched them down because I knew when I was drawing that something like a space in between the car would be beneficial. I would make this possible by sawing the rectangular cutout using the bandsaw and smoothing it out using Dremel/manual sanding. However, the reason why I didn't do this was because I was too paranoid that I would mess up by sawing through the axle holes and me having to start over. There was another reason, but I'll explain as I go on. Next, I'm going to talk about the underside of my car, since it might be one of the weirdest features about this car. Apart from the paint job, there's another thing that I noticed that could have potentially been risky when I was drilling the holes for my axles. The front wheel holes that I was drilling had a very thin layer separating it from the hole on the outside. The reason why I said this was risky was for two reasons. One, if I had drilled ever so slightly more to the edge, it would have surely just cut the side of the hole, in which case, knowing the most picky person I am, I would have just said, well, that's going in the trash, and I would have to start over. This was before I knew about wood building. The second reason why this was risky was because going back to the cutout I wanted to do, I felt like if I have cut through the axle hole, knowing how thin, I felt like I would have cut through the axle hole, knowing how thin the layer protecting it was. Moving on to the rear of the car, or what I like to call where the magic happens, emphasis on the magic there. There were two flaws that were bothering me. One was that the hole that I drilled for the CO2 cartridge was too big. The second flaw I noticed was that the edges surrounding the hole were very sloppy. They seemed very uneven and just offsets the whole rear end of the car. And those are all the things that I think I could have definitely paid more close attention to. And I think that's all the time I've got for today. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for my car. I noticed that I have been calling it a car for this whole presentation. It is kind of sad that the fact that I raised and fed this man into what he is today, and I still haven't given him a name. I should probably give her a name. Yes, it's a her now, deal with it. But I don't know what to choose. It varies of red, black, and purple. It looks kind of like a skateboard. I think I will call it Annalise. It means the one who is blessed with beauty and grace in Latin. Totally tubular, and totally not copied off the internet. Ah, how cliche of me. Anyway, me and Annalise are going to say thanks, and we'll be on our way. Thanks for listening, guys.